All right, now,
Can I just
Tom.
sort of follow up on the issue of the British leadership visit? I mean, how would you characterise how closely aligned you are with the British government position on the issue of long-range missiles? Because it's fairly clear that the British and the French and some others are more sympathetic to President Zelensky's pleas to be able to use these weapons inside Russia. So how would you define where, how closely aligned you are with the British on that?
So I don't want to get into the details of both private and ongoing diplomatic conversations, especially ahead of a conversation that's going to happen here in another hour and a half or so at the White House. I will say that we are very closely aligned with Britain on the overall objectives, the overall outcome that we want to see. You heard the Secretary and the Foreign Minister both speak to that in a press conference in Ukraine. We share the exact same objectives, and we continue to discuss with them the best way to achieve those objectives, the best way to make sure that Ukraine ultimately wins this war. That's an ongoing discussion, as the Secretary said, in Ukraine. And I believe as the Foreign Minister said, both of us would go back and talk with our respective governments about what we heard from our Ukrainian partners, and then we will confer with each other as we confer with our other NATO allies, and make decisions based on those consultations going forward.
Would you prefer that there is coordination on these permissions? I mean, if the Europeans are to sort of unilaterally give permission to use their long-range weapons, is that something you have a problem with?
So we will continue to coordinate with them. Every country ultimately has to make its own decisions about how they want to support Ukraine, and that's something that every country has the ability to do. But we do consult with each other, especially with our close NATO allies. Ultimately, this is an issue that is something we want to work together on, and we'll continue to do that. Alex.
Thank you, Matt. Just to press you a little bit more on Nick's question. Your response doesn't scream urgency, but knowing what you know about Iranian missiles, delivery of Iranian missiles to Russia, and the White House said that they're going to be employed within weeks. What is the suggestion to Ukrainians? Just sit back and wait?
Alex, so you and I have had this debate a number of times before when it comes to any one capability that we might provide. And I would urge you, as always, to take this in a larger context and look at the overall support that we have provided to Ukraine since day one, really since before day one. We were providing Ukraine with security assistance before the February 24th, 2022 invasion. And we've continued to provide them tens of billions of dollars in assistance. And we've continued to adapt and adjust our capabilities that we provide them, and adapt and adjust the assistance that we provide them related to the evolving situation on the battleground. However, we're going to be deliberate about that. We're going to want to think about how every step that we take fits into a long-term strategy. And Alex, ultimately, I would ask that you judge us by our results, by our actions, and by the overall assistance that we provided. And I think our track record in that regard speaks for itself. One more, and then, because I have limited time, one more, and then I'm going to move on.
Thanks so much. Just to clarify, what gives you confidence that the air defense system you have provided so far will actually protect them against Iranian drones, which will, hit, within weeks? I'm just saying, based on what the White House told us.
So you mean Iranian ballistic missiles or Iranian drones?
Both.
Iranian ballistic missiles. So we continue to work with them to strengthen their air defense systems. We have provided them air defense systems. A number of other countries have provided them air defense systems. And we're going to continue to work to bolster them, as well as continue to bolster their capability to take on Russian capabilities to launch those attacks in the first place. Kylie, go ahead.